to get in amongst the eSIM action as we do it in the virtual world tonight. The flyover of Winton, and what a beautiful part of the world. The driver's just getting out for a quick qualifying session now. We're going to crank up the audio, turn down the sound, and see some of the names we've seen, 3-4 years ago when we first kicked off doing an E-Series for these guys. My name's Luke, I'm from Race Stars TV, and I'll be taking you through tonight's broadcast and straight out on the track. They're not wasting any time. We're going to see some pictures, some names, and a little bit about some of the drivers as well. Good to see Miles Bond back in the the Ferrari tonight. So jumping into the prancing horse for tonight's round. There's a heap of Corvettes out there. We've got some Porsches as well. A BMW, Michael Fowson jumping in the BMW with the rear end already sliding around and looking exciting out there. The track conditions as we get underway here, it's 19 degrees track temp, also ambient temp with a clear sky, 19 degrees, 7:42 in the morning. Well, it's not 7:42 right here, it's just after 8 o'clock, and I want to welcome to the chat and a hello to Ran McClurk. And Ran, it's been a while, great to be back, and mate, how are you doing first and foremost?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having us back, and it's good to be back in the E-World.
E-World?
In the E-World, is that what we call it?
I like that. Sure. I like that. Let's run with that.
Yeah, it's great to be back, and really excited that we're bringing another season of sports sedans, and this time we're just following the real life sports sedans. So it's not going to be every week like we used to do. We're basically going to race generally a week after the real round, so we can chat about it and just sort of help support the main series.
That's mega, and obviously you were pretty busy last weekend, wasn't it, down at Winton?
Yeah, so I was there from Thursday to Sunday for the round one of the Precision National Sports Sedans. It was epic, man. Like, it was on, two of the races were on Stan Sport, but I have to say, like, I usually will say on TV it looks more exciting because we get to see more. Yeah. But with Tony Ricciardello back, going against Jordan Caruso, the current champion, and obviously the young gun, and has just won the Porsche series. It was insane, and Tony had never raced on the Kumos, and my God, that guy was on it straight away. It was insane and quite inspiring to watch.
And how much difference does a tyre compound make, or a tyre brand make to a category like that?
Well, look, to me, not much. But I spoke to Tony a little bit about it, and he said a lot. They were changing springs constantly. They were trying different things. He was deliberately trying to see what the tyre would handle. So he went off a few times in practice, because he goes, mate, I need to see what it will take. So he was out there ragging that car. It was really good to see. It was like jacking up. He was sideways, and it's not because he doesn't know how to drive. It's because he does know and wanted to see what the tyres, how much grip they would give him. And it was, he was on it. If anyone watched the first race, he got a great jump on Jordan and held him, and they touched a little bit. Jordan was fine with that. They loved it. And unfortunately, they both had a bit of an issue in race 2 and then came through the field in race 3. So it was super cool to watch. Yeah,
it's great. I love the snippets. I love the action you're capturing and putting on to socials, which is good. And mate, you got to get there and smell it and feel it in real life to really appreciate what beasts they are. And I guess replicating it in iRacing is a little bit hard to do, but you've gone for the GT cars again, the GT3 cars predominantly, and
actually GTE cars.
GTE, sorry, yep,
and GT1. So we thought, they don't have ABS. We don't run ABS in space frame cars. We're not allowed to, as per the rules. Yep. So we thought, look, it sort of is close, and we did fix setups as well. So that means that some of the guys, like myself especially, but even like a lot of the guys don't have time to get on here and practice a lot. So it takes that out of the equation. Everyone's on the even playing field. The GT1 cars are slightly tweaked to bring them back, but not many of the guys have chosen them because they're harder to drive and the tires go off.
Yeah, okay, and shortish races, I should say, tonight. So I'm going to test my memory here. Was it 8, 12, and 18, something like that?
Close. 6, 8, and 12 it should be. So Pete was a little bit bit nervous about doing 3 races because he gets tired, and I understand that. But yeah, what we're trying to do here is replicate the real series. We're not trying to be just another sim series, which is, there's a time and a place for that, and that's what we're on. We're on a sim, but for this series, we wanted to try and replicate what tracks we're going to. Obviously, we can't do all the tracks that we do because iRacing doesn't have them, but we've tried to pick tracks that, I don't know, resemble or something, so tonight is fine. They raced at Winton on the weekend. We're racing at Winton, so that's super cool. And they're racing. Sports Sedans are back at Bathurst, so we get to do Bathurst, which will be ace as well. So, and yeah, it's great to have people like Miles back, who's from the original series. Chris Purnell is from the original series. Obviously, people like Tony Dunn, Colin Smith. There's a lot of guys here. But and young Kai has come on board, and he's going to be doing it, so that should be pretty interesting. But yeah, it's a good mix of guys. Yeah, I think we've even got Stu Brown will come back. He's not doing tonight, but it's been pretty cool.
And with a minute and a half to go in qualifying, Bond on top by a quarter of a second, pretty close behind him as well, with Carroll, Ardley and Pennell about a tenth apart from each other. So, mate, this is looking good. It's looking like an even field of cars. The cars look pretty well matched. We've got Ferrari, Corvette, Porsche for the top three. So 3 manufacturers in the top 3. And, looking forward to this first race. Once again, unselfishly, you've given up your whole qualifying to come and chat.
Yeah, well, look, I must admit I've been working on the Calibra all day today, and so between doing Sports Sedan media stuff, working on my car, and making money to pay for cars, I haven't been on the sim very much. So I'll get out in the race, and if I crash, I'll come and chat to you and jump in and out. But look, this is about supporting the class and it should be really good racing. Bondi, Carroll's been really quick. Kai is the last of the late breakers, so that could be interesting. Chris Purnell, obviously, we know he's very quick. He said the Corvette is very difficult to drive, especially around here. Jordan, he's a pretty aggressive driver. It should be pretty interesting. Good old Colin Smith, mate. His team won the round on the weekend with Ashley Jarvis, so I'm sure he's still on a high. And Matty Dexter, mate, it's going to be interesting. Look, Kurt, if he started up the front, he'd probably actually do quite well.
Oh, good luck in the race, man. You're going to be starting from position 15 out of 16 drivers. Mark Pryor still up to his old tricks and not qualifying, not setting a time. He'll start from the very back. So we'll call the grid now and we'll get underway for race 1.
Cheers.
Good luck, Ryan. Okay, so here we go, folks. Round number 1 of the Australian Sports Sedan Eseries. This is your starting grid for race number 1, and Miles Bond gets to the front row with a 1:15.653. 2 tenths behind him, Hayden Carroll will start alongside. Rolling start tonight, Kai Ardley will start from that second row of the grid with Chris Purnell alongside him. Then it's Jordan Ockholds in P5 tonight, the third row, shared with Colin Smith, the MR Automotive racing car, alongside him. Then it's a fourth row of Matt Dexter and Robert Medson rounding out the top 8. And Lockie Barlow 9th. Kurt Bond will start tonight in P10. 11th, Tony Don with Peter Ellenbogen rounding out your top 12. And to the final page of our grid for race number 1, it'll be Michael Falzon. Adrian Pryor starts from 14th, I think new to the series, brother of Mark Pryor out of 15th, and Ram McClurkin. We'll start from the back of your grid as they now form up behind our pace truck and get ready to go racing. So here we go. So technical difficulties there as the mic was killing me for a second. We'll back with you hopefully. No one on the chat saying any otherwise, but I've just checked the audio. Hopefully you can hear me again, folks, as Miles Bond out in front. Plenty of drama at the opening part of this race. And Kurt Bond, Lockie Barlow, Tony Don, and plenty of others continue to move forward. Ram McClurkin up a few spots as well. And a bit of jostling in behind. Who's that also in the mix there? Don, Pryor, McClurkin. It's Rob Medson trying to fight his way back into this now. He's got Kai Ardley also, who spun at the start of this race, trying to get himself back into the action. And well, it's a shortish race to try and claw your way back when you only got 6 laps to do it. And the guys at the front are absolutely roaring along here. That's a new fastest lap for Miles Bond, ahead of Carroll by just over a second now. So moving along nicely. And I had a random person pop into the live stream on Discord. Hence why I muted the microphone there for the chat in case that person spoke. And it actually muted me to the stream. So sorry about that, folks, if you missed the first lap of the call, but I wasn't sure who it was, and I didn't want them to start speaking. So anyway, those things happen on the first night jitters for all of us, for the drivers and myself, as we might lock off this broadcast room so random people can't just pop in for a chat. As we got a big spin there, Kai Ardley, second time tonight. Not sure if someone was also involved in that, but he's just gone off into the weeds as well. Like I said, it could be the third time. Ram McClurkin, very polite there, slows down, lets him back onto the racetrack as Bond comes around to round out what is lap number 3. So he's looking comfortable, 1.5 seconds now in front. I think he might even post a new fastest lap here. Just watch for the purple time on the side of your timing screen there. Will it pop out purple? And does he go faster again? He does in a 1:15.9 that time around. Still about 3 or 4 tenths quicker than Carroll behind. So he's got this one pretty well sewn up. Look at the gap back to Jordan Knockholes as well. P3 at the moment, not being able to put any sort of mark on closing this gap. The first and second, Colin Smith sitting in 4th. Kurt Bond just in behind, up 5 spots. As we flick on the timing screen there, the gains tonight. Someone who's made up a stack of spots. I spoke about him during the intro there to the grid, but it was Mark Pryor, who didn't qualify, has got himself now right up there in P8 in this beautifully turned out BMW Grumpy Motorsport. Not grumpy, I'm sure, tonight, because he'd be loving being back here in the series and doing some decent E-Series racing. As in front of him as we jump on board with Pryor. Look at this battle between Don and Barlow. It's heating up as well. So down the inside, and unfortunately Tony Don has come out of that worse for wear. He spins the car around and tries to get it back pointing in the right direction, but contact was made, and unfortunately that's cost Tony Don a stack of positions, and it looks like some pretty severe damage to that car as well as it limps back towards the pit lane. Hopefully he can bring that home. Back at the front though, is that gap closed down slightly? It has. A new fastest lap of the race, 4 tenths quicker than what Bond just did on the previous lap, was Hayden Carroll. So he's making a last-ditch effort here to close him down in the final laps of this race. Let's jump on board and have a listen. So into the sun, as the sun actually rises here at Winton, we are set for a morning race. That time in iRacing, counting up, it was just approaching 8 o'clock, and that should progress through the 3 races tonight with this first 6 lap. And then we go to an 8 lap and then a 12 lap feature race tonight to finish it off. So they feel quite well spread out, and I think Bond, with 1 lap to go, should hang on here for a win if he can just keep it facing in the right direction. But Hayden Carroll, impressed by the fight back at the end of this race, and it'll put him in good stead for the second race. Obviously, as the white flag flies, it is a progressive grid, so we're not doing any reverse grids tonight. Where they finish race 1, they'll start race 2 and so on for race 3, as Michael Fowson unfortunately has gone back to the pit lane. Jordan Knockholes goes through to start his final lap, P3, pretty comfortably here over Colin Smith, and is that Kurt Bond that is just behind him in the Porsche, starting to apply some pressure. So have a listen to this great engine note on this Porsche, chasing the Aston Martin. And we do have 5 different manufacturers here in the top 5. Ferrari leads Corvette, leads BMW ahead of Aston Martin, and then Porsche. So incredibly well balanced, the balance of power here between the manufacturers in this series, showing that they can all race pretty evenly. And you know, our second Ferrari, we've got one winning the race at the moment, the second one down in P10 with Peter Ellenbogen, as he fights his way on the final lap here of race number 1. But we'll stick here with your race leader coming around to take the checker flag in race number 1 and a win. Miles Bond in the hot seat, back in the top step of the podium as well. Good to have him back in the series. And Miles Bond takes the opening race win ahead of Hayden Carroll, and then followed up by Jordan Knock. I was pretty happy with that. He flashes the headlights. He made it 2 spots in that race, Jordan, to finish in the top 3. Colin Smith finishes ahead of Kurt Bond, 4th and 5th, and then it's Lockie Barlow in the Porsche that brings it home tonight. P6 in race 1. Mark Pryor from the back of the grid gets 7th place ahead of Medson Purnell, and rounding out your top 10, Peter Ellenbogen. So race number 1 in the bag, and a decent job by all in that one. But Miles Bond too strong. Hopefully we'll have a few chats, I'm sure, between races tonight, but we'll get some results up for you in a second, and you can see where your favourite driver ended up. So race 1 finishes up with Miles Bond winning that one. Ran, hello mate, and interesting first race. Some nervous jitters getting out of the way there.
Yeah, I think so. There was a bit of contact. The cars are super slippery around here.
And it's a quick run in. It's a quick run into race 2, mate, as well. So we're having a look at the grid while we chat. But yeah. Look, a couple of drivers obviously coming off there. How was the feel in the chat? You guys are all talking to each other. Was it all pretty positive?
No one chatted. Everyone was quiet.
Oh wow.
I know. Take COVID out of it. People get along.
Well, I was quiet too, mate. I actually turned my mic off for the first lap because I had someone pop into the chat that wasn't you, so I got a bit spooked by that in case they were going to say something.
Who popped in?
I don't know. I'll have to. I'll talk to you later about it. Someone who's not racing, I think, popped into this live stream room. So anyway, the first lap was dead silent, and then we came back after that. So anyway, we might lock this room for next time.
Yeah. Weirdos.
There's like a creeper in the room. But anyway, man, it was good. Great racing at the front. Miles Bond, how strong is he?
Yeah, but H was there, wasn't he? Was he a second away or something?
He was coming back at the end. Hey, you got to go race, man.
Yeah, better.
Right, we'll chat to you after this one. So race 2 forming up now, and quick turnaround. I tell you what, this one, coming up as B main, of course, with the iRacing graphics. But our race 2 of the night, 8 laps. And how will this change? I mean, Rand's right there. Hayden was coming back strong towards the end of that first race. Will he have an answer? Will he maybe go a little bit harder on the tyres at the start and not leave so much for the end? Because that gap was out to about 2 seconds. He clawed it back at the very end of the race. But let's see how aggressive he's at the start this time. And does he let him get away? Watch out for a few of the people that have also progressed forward. You know, you've got Mark Pryor now starting at a P7. And here we get away. Green light. Race number 2 underway. 8 laps to go for this second race tonight into turn 1. Everyone looking pretty well behaved. We've got a spinner in the background. It was Pryor who's gone around. Tony Don, I think, has gone into the side of him as well. So unfortunately, they've got together. Miles Bond leads down in front, but Hayden Carroll, not letting him get away this time, is right on his tail in that beautifully turned out Corvette. I saw one of these Corvettes driving on the road the other day, and gee whiz, they look beautiful. I was trying to work out what was coming towards me. I could just see the headlights in the distance, and great looking road car, as obviously the GT1 car here looking incredible. But Bond leads. We've got a bit of movement back further. This is Purnell and Barlow going door to door in the background behind them. Medson licking his lips, thinking I can probably sneak through here, and he may just do that. Medson goes through as Barlow exits stage left. Now we've got more happening in the back play there as Barlow rejoins the track ahead of Ellenbogen. Ellenbogen goes through, and Adrian Pryor also snuck through there as well. So Little battle pack here with Chris Purnell. You can see Kai Ardley on the headlights, flashing away. Just getting the attention there of Purnell, letting him know he's right there. It's so easy to run wide through that final couple of corners. The big roar of the Aston Martin as it screams past Bond. Goes through lap 1 with a 1 minute 20 flat. So good, decent opening lap. And once again, the gap out to around 7/10 of a second. So he has set the early pace here in the E-Series, Miles Bond, and is looking very, very smart indeed. Knockolds once again after coming up 2 positions to finish 3rd in race 1. Now race 2 securely on the podium. In fact, the gap back to Colin Smith is already pushed out to over 2 seconds, so it's looking pretty comfortable at the moment. I think Purnell will maybe impact on this gap because he's now up 5 positions, and Ardley as well is hardly mucking around there. He's up 7 into P5. Rob Medson up a couple. Matt Dexter, great to see Matt back as well with the big M on the side. He's up P7, up 6 spots in the second race already. And Rand McClurkin at the back there, starting I think around 14th in this second race in this beautifully painted Corvette, already up into P9. So he's up 5 positions at the start of this race and moving along nicely. Unfortunately, Michael Falzon, DNS, did not start this our second race of the night as Bond crosses the line again. Start lap number 3, a 1:16.2 ahead of Carroll and Knockolds. Nothing's changed at the front. Let's go to the back where we've got a car off the track. Adrian Pryor, overtaken there by Kurt Bond, and I've just given Pryor a shout, new to the series, brother of Mark Pryor, who's a couple of spots up the road. I love the look of these Porsches. They just hug the racetrack as they sweep through there, and such a beautiful looking race car. Now in front, the black Ferrari, doing a great job. Miles Bond at the wheel. So Miles, 2-litre sports sedan racer in the wheel well. Oh, is that Purnell off the track? It is. Purnell's gone around. I just saw him dropping and tumbling down the timing sheet there, and all that hard work undone. So I wonder if the Corvette's just a little bit tricky around this Winton circuit, especially in the mid sectors where it gets pretty tight. You can just see him winding on the lock there, and then he gets on that throttle, the big roaring engine making such a beautiful note. But I just got a feeling, mate, once again, look at that understeer. He just turns the car in, it doesn't behave, and he has to back out of the throttle mid-corner. It's not going where he's pointing it at the moment. I wonder if this fixed setup too is just catching a couple of the drivers out under these conditions. And a 1:16.1, a new fastest lap again, which is straight away taken off him by Carroll, who responds. Carroll's keeping that gap within 0.6 of a second. Let's jump on board with Carroll and just have a little bit of a watch and listen here. And just listen to the attitude of the car. You can hear how much throttle he's using mid-corner and just squeezing the throttle as he comes out. And through this particular section of the track, listen to the understeer. You can hear the tyres complaining. Listen. Obviously in the sim world, you get a lot of feedback, not just from the field through your force feedback wheel, but listening, using your ears to listen for what the tyres are telling you. You don't get the sensation you do in a real race car through the wheel as much as you would love. And they do tune in and try and listen for key little signals via that sound, and obviously comes through in stereo through your headphones or through the speakers you're racing with. And you can tell a lot under brakes and through the corners just on how your car is behaving on the sounds that iRacing creates. So it's one of those little things that until you learn how to use it to your advantage, you will be a lot slower. So crossing the line again, Miles now responds quicker again with a mid-15-second lap. He's flying. The gap's still half a second. The tow probably just keeping Hayden Carroll in touch here. Further back, Matt Dexter is really starting to apply the screws here to Rob Medson. BMW first, Aston Martin, and the Aston Martin of Colin Smith. MR Automotive, one of my favourite liveries you see on a race car is this one, and beautifully turned out in the sim world, just as is in the real world. And number 44 here of Colin Smith, down 3 spaces in this, 3 places I should say in this race too, but now starting to apply some pressure again behind him, Purnell and then McClurkin. And McClurkin just ahead there of Dunn, Peter Ellenbogen. back for the lead battle. Still 0.5 of a second. We'll have a look at the lap time chart for the last couple of laps, and you can see a 1:15.83 for Bond on the last one. So he did a 1:20, obviously the rolling start, a 1:16.2, a 1:16.1, then a 1:15.8. Progressively getting quicker each lap is your race leader. What about this time? Because it looks like Hayden Carroll's just chipped him a little bit on this lap. Goes across the line, does a 1:16.2, so a bit slower on that lap. And you can just tell by the gap, which has diminished slightly. Further back, Pennell going wheel to wheel here with Colin Smith down towards turn 1. Who's going to come out on top of this one? Not space given there by Smith, and Pennell goes through now up into P7. Behind them, Ellenbogen and McClurkin go wheel to wheel as well. And around the outside, Peter Ellenbogen keeps the boot into it. Ran quite elegantly, just I think bled out of the throttle there and said, right, you can have that corner. And I'll continue on my merry ways. Once again, some tyre smoke just showing that they're not fully in touch with these cars. Round number 1. It's going to take a little while, a bit more testing probably, and a bit more seat time for everyone to feel comfortable again. And you're talking about guys that probably race 99% real race cars to the 1% they actually jump in the sim. Some of these guys, so it is a big shock sometimes. And I know some of the real passionate real life racers, they won't jump in the sim racing because it makes them sometimes look a bit silly. But this is all about having fun. It's not about, you know, some of the greatest real life racers are terrible in the sim. Some of the best sim racers wouldn't be able to drive a real race car to save themselves. So there's no pride on show here. This is all about having fun, celebrating basically the Australian Sports Sedan, the National Sports Sedan Series as well, and the fantastic community group of people it is, and fantastic race cars that they race. And they've done well with the liveries again tonight. These cars just look the part. Obviously Miles' car represents his real world race car as Pennell goes down the inside on Matt Dexter, moves himself up into 6th now, up 3 spots. So he's back on the charge, and I think McClurkin once again wheel to wheel here with Pryor. That's Mark Pryor on the inside, tipping it in, and he should be able to dispatch of Ran there, nice and close between them. And he gets through on the Porsche as well. If Kurt Bond might have a shot here at Ran as well. Hung out to dry slightly there, as in the background you've also got Lockie Barlow fighting his way back into this race. So, oh, nice and close on the brakes once again. Not making contact though, that's the key thing. Back to your race leader though, with a lap to go after this one. He's got a corner and a lap to go, Miles Bond, to take it 2 from 2 wins. Maybe pretty stoked with that as he comes down across the line and take the white flag. So the gap's 7/10. I think last race, in fact, it was around 1.6 seconds when we got to the white flag. So you add 2 extra laps in the race, and Hayden Carroll was about half the deficit that he was in race 1. So looking good. That means for race 3 should be very close coming into the last lap, if not in front. I'd love to see the challenge taken to Bond here, but having Miles back in the series is fantastic, and he's come out of the gates really flying. He obviously did a lot of sim racing through COVID, as many of the drivers did, and when they couldn't get out and, you know, be social with their mates or race real race cars, this was the go-to. This is what kicked off Race Stars TV. It was basically what kicked us off as well, and I got forever grateful to Ran and the whole crew for kicking off Race Stars TV. And very, very early on, we're up to nearly 680 something broadcasts now, and they were there from the get-go. So this is fantastic to be back and celebrating sports sedans. And Miles Bond getting it done, says Dave Roberts, and here he goes to take the checker flag in race number 2. So 2 from 2 so far with 1 to go. Miles Bond in control ahead of Hayden Carroll, and Jordan Knockolds comes home for a 1-2-3. The top 3 staying in the position they started. Kai Ardley, heaps of gains there. He gets himself up 8 spots into the top 4. Medson as well up 3 into 5th, and Pennell fighting back up into 6th place. Dexter as well up 6 into the top 7. Those drivers in particular in the mid-pack there have now set themselves up well for the final race after what was a bit of a shocker in race 1, dropping right to the back. Now they've got a chance to fight back here, but 2 strong, 2 from 2. We'll talk to Ran. I think we'll probably have a warm-up session and a chance to have a bit of a chit-chat here and catch up with Ran in the break between races, which will be good, and we'll run through the results as well with 1 to go. And yeah, great racing. Miles Bond, super strong at the front. Hayden Carroll with him. Knockles takes you 3. And as we go into, I think, a warm-up session, we join with Ran again. And, mate, that was a nice, clean race. Some good racing in the mid-pack, as well as some of the faster guys who bombed out in race 1 made their way back through.
Oh, it's good to see. And Bondi got a second one, did he?
He's 2 from 2, yeah.
Far out. It's good. Like, I know that H has been quite quick in practices, so yeah. How close was it at the end?
Closer, so half a second that time, as we'll just bring the race results up from our second race. But yeah, definitely closer in race 2. So I predicted that in race 3 it would probably be right on his tail at the end.
Ooh, mama. Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, there was. Look, this is a tough track. It's a tight track, especially on the sim. It seems extra hard than real life, to be honest. So yeah, the boys are doing all right. I know there's been a little bit of contact here and there, but yeah, it's bound to happen.
And obviously the Corvette of Hayden looks really in control, but some of the other guys struggling with the was it the Corvette or the Aston Martin maybe? I saw a couple of the guys just struggling to get the front to turn in. A lot of understeer.
Oh my god. Well, I don't know. I'm like, H is going fine. I'm struggling for turn in. I just can't get the car to rotate. I'm trying different things, and yeah, it makes no sense. But yeah, look, definitely some of the guys have got to grips with the cars a lot quicker than others, and this track is probably going to be one of the hardest tracks, to be honest, for everybody. I think it'll get a bit better from here. Even Oran Park's a lot more flowing than this is.
Yeah, they look big, these cars, when you go through the back end of this circuit. Like, just the turn, they seem to just sort of stall in the mid part of the corner and not want to turn.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, if obviously Miles and H have got their heads around that. How did Kai go in that one?
Kai fought back, so he's definitely fighting his way back through. And you know, Chris Purnell as well, fighting his way back through. Medson had a pretty good race. I saw you having a few wheel-to-wheel. You're very polite out there, Ran, I've got to say. I've seen you just be very polite. People get alongside you and you don't fight it too hard. You're out there having fun. And that's what I said throughout the race there. It's like, there's no egos here. This is just about celebrating National Sports Sedan, Australian Sports Sedan Eseries, and just having fun.
Yeah, look, and for sure, some of the guys will fight a lot harder, but yeah, so far this season, the vibe has been really good. Everyone's just happy to have a run, and I think because the fixed setups and because we're not running every week, that it takes a bit of pressure off the guys. And look, I'm really stoked to see some of the faces we haven't seen for a while, because the original series was quite a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's good to sort of get back to that.
Hey mate, you've had an update of cars too. I noticed in the break since we last spoke, obviously you had the 2-litre Sports Sedan, but you've stepped up now into the big boys toys.
Well,
would that be right or not?
3.5 litre, no, not quite. But 3.5 litre 180SX I sold, my turbo car, and that's the new owner, Nath Bain's been doing really well in that. He did crash it at Phillip Island, but he's going to fix that up. And yeah, I sold that and gave the Supra back to the old man and everything, and I've got the ex-Dave McGuinness Calibra with a Dodge NASCAR motor in it now, which I'm getting ready to test hopefully in about a month or so.
Well, that's stepping up, right? That's got to be, what, 5 litres, 6 litres?
No, it is definitely a step up. So it's look, at the moment we've got like a nice measly 700 horsepower, but that motor will that motor will make well over 800, but we're not going to run it that hard to start with. And it is a full space frame car. A lot of the people who are from New South Wales will know it pretty well. It ran a lot from about 2006 or 7 into the mid-10s sort of thing, I suppose. I'd have to have a look. But yeah, it was quite, I don't think Dave was on a huge budget, but the car has a lot of potential. So I think we'll be aiming more for state level stuff, just because Nationals is pretty serious.
Yep. Yeah, you haven't got the transporter out the front of your house yet.
No, I don't have. I've got an open trailer still, unfortunately. I don't have 7 guys working on it. I don't fly into the rounds. I don't. Yeah, but more power to the people that do. I've got good on them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and looking, sports sedans is one of those classes, unlike many other classes around, where people rock up with a Tarago towing an open trailer, and they work on it with their dad or their mate, and then you've got the guys at the complete other end of the paddock that rock up in semi-trailers. They've flown here, their team's brought the car, they've got computer systems that looks like a V8 supercar pit lane, and it's super serious. They've got a golf cart that's running everyone around. I think that's ace. So I really want to point out that that that's what the class is about, and I think it's fantastic that I know for a fact that when I'm on the grid against those guys, I'm just happy I get to race against top level people, even if they beat me. It's just it's really cool.
It looked like you had all access at your last weekend. So, obviously, how do people follow what's going on with sports sedans? Facebook's obviously a great medium to be able to follow your little, access all areas, pit entry pictures and videos and stuff.
Yeah, so we've got obviously the National Sports Sedan page on Facebook, and also I've got a Sports Sedan page on Instagram. Similar sort of stuff goes on both of those. We've got a Australian Sports Sedan group, and you'll know which one it is because it's got a banner that says official, not the other one. And we just try and bring factual information, not a lot of carry on. Like, we want car builds. We bring up information that's actually happening, what cars are doing what teams are doing what, new liveries. Sports Sedan TV is something I've sort of arced up a bit more on YouTube and on Facebook, but mainly on YouTube, which has got interviews with drivers in car, and also slowly compiling Sports Sedan since it's the beginning and all the races that we can find and putting them on YouTube. So there's a one spot to find everything. Blendline TV has a lot of awesome Sports Sedan content too. I'm not connected personally to them anymore, but that's another place to check out Sports Sedan content as well.
Yeah, awesome. So we're about 3.5 minutes to go for this warm-up session. A few drivers just choosing to probably go to the bathroom, have something to eat, have something to drink, whatever. But there's a couple of drivers out there: Kurt Bond, Colin Smith, Mark Pryor.
Exactly. Look at it. I was about to say Bondi's out there. The man that's winning, he's like, what? I can go faster.
I know that. Yeah, he's actually. I was going to say Kurt Bond currently topping the times, but I just noticed Miles.
Oh, is it Kurt?
Yeah, but Miles has just popped out of the pit lane though for an out lap, so wants to make sure he's fresh.
Got taken, had a coming together with his mate Lockie, so hopefully Bondi gets a better run this one. But definitely get onto those things and check out. There's lots of videos coming. I've got one with Tony Ricciardello that will be live on Friday, so you'll be able to find that on Sports Sedan TV on YouTube. And we're off to Queensland Raceway in the real world, I think in about 50 days, month and a half.
Yep.
And I know I was speaking to Nick today, and he's trying to get the RX-7 ready after that fire at Winton. And if he does, then I think I'm going to go up and pit for him. Actually, he asked if I'd come up and do pit for him.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so make sure everyone goes and subscribes, to Sports Sedans on Facebook and social media, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. Keep an eye on the content, and Ram, we love it. Thanks for going to that effort, because I'm sure it's something you don't have to do, but even for an amateur person that just gets on Facebook once a week and just has a bit of a stalk of things like Sports Sedans and what's going on in the real world, to keep in touch, I love it, man. So well done.
Cheers. Thanks for everyone that supports us. It's great that Sports Sedans is getting a little bit of a profile again. If you saw on the what's hot and what's not on, I think it's Race Talk or something website, we were number 2. We should have been number 1, but we're number 2, and we'll take that. And that, we weren't even on those lists for a while there. So I think people are starting to see that Sports Sedans are pretty bloody cool. Obviously, sometimes the races spread out a little bit, but like if you watched round 1, there were battles all the way through the field, and really fierce battles. There might have been some gaps between the battles, but it was pretty awesome. Like, we were yelling and carrying on. Like, it was so exciting watching it.
And I think there was a photo on Facebook of Ricciardello with a rear wheel, I think, up in the air as he was sliding through a corner or something. But I read the comments, and that's where you see someone say, "Oh, look, I remember seeing this car 20 years ago at Oran Park," and those sort of comments just show how deep the history and the love, and the fact that this red and yellow bright car that pops up on the screen can jog so many memories. And to me, I've got fond memories of it. And I love seeing that particular comment, because it's the sort of comment I would have made if it. I'm not a commenter on Facebook, but straight away I was like, oh man, that car, Oran Park, took me straight back.
Yeah, and I think people have got to remember, yes, it looks like the same car, but
Probably
underneath that car, Tony doesn't stand still, and he's not going to tell us what he's done. But trust me, I saw people going, "Oh, look, Tony's at the front. Nothing's really progressed in Sports Sedans." He's been changing that car in the 3 years he hasn't been running. He watches what everyone's doing. He watches what lap times. He messages me what's happening at the track. If I'm at the track, he wants to know. He's not sitting around just twiddling his thumbs. That car, he's been thinking about what tyres are going onto it, how he can maybe get in front of what he's got to do. The sports sedans have progressed, but obviously, and Tony's progressed with it by not even being there, and I think that's more power to him. But don't definitely think that sports sedans have stood still.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck in race number 3. We'll chat to you afterwards. I'm sure you'll drag a heap of the crew in as well to have a chat as we finish up tonight's broadcast. But one race to go here, and Miles Bond sits on top in the warm-up session. They're ready to try and take 3 from 3. Good luck, Ran.
He's going to be winning this Precision International $200 voucher, I think.
Very cool. Big thanks to Precision. And let's get set now for race number 3. So can Miles Bond make it 3 from 3? We'll find out shortly. This is how they will grid up for your final race of the night. Rolling start once again on the front row, Miles Bond. Alongside him, Hayden Carroll. Hayden's been the closest to taking anything to Miles tonight in race 1 and 2. So can he do it in race 3? Jordan Knockolds, he's also going to be there as a contender in race 3. Alongside him, Kai Ardley, who's fought his way back after an unfortunate race 1. Got back into P4 for race 2, so he's set to blast through as well and try and challenge for the front. Watch Rob Medson from the 3rd row with Chris Purnell. We know Chris is always fast as well from Virtual Motorsport. And let's see what he can do. Matty Dexter, P7. Colin Smith with him in the mid-pack now. Tony Don and Peter Ellenbogen. Watch these guys jostling through the first couple of laps in this 3rd race. They'll try and find their place and then push forward. Then you've got Mark Pryor, Adrian Pryor, the brothers, a row 6, P11 and 12, starting alongside each other. That will be interesting to watch too into turn 1. Ram McClurkin out of 13. Lockie Barlow, 14. Kurt Bond and Michael Fowson will not start, I don't think, up front. Or actually, Michael Fowson may be on the grid for race 3, which is fantastic. But they roll away. Let's get set for the action here. A 12-lap finale here. We'll get rid of the music. We'll crank up the sound of these beautiful race cars. And who's your money on? If you're there watching tonight, let us know. Jump on the chat. Make a few comments. And I'll try and say good day. I'll keep an eye on that in the corner of my eye, on the corner of one of my screens. And I'm looking forward to this one. Look at Jordan Knockolds already pushing forward. Kai Ardley is keen as to try and get a nice clean start here. I'm not sure, will the young fella have a shot down into turn 1 with a couple of very experienced boys in front of him? We wait for that green flag once again, and the nerves will rise here. Our flagman, Barney here from iRacing, about to drop the flag, and there he is. We get underway for race number 3, the final one tonight. 12 laps on the board and down into turn 1. Ardley on the outside of 1. Comes the inside turn 2 and he gets through nicely there. Ahead of the pack, you've got Miles Bond leading in behind. It's a nice little look down the inside there for, I think it was Purnell, making up a position. He goes up into P5 now. So he's already made up 1 spot in the opening couple of corners. Behind him, Medson. Colin Smith made up 1 as well, and Ellenbogen up to position. Barlow made up 3 off the start, and he's also trying to make his mark on this final race. Was that locked break? There it was. Ardley behind, and Knockolds will jump on board with the Porsche of Kai Ardley. And the crucial thing for these guys, this is the longest race of the night. It's the long feature race, 12 laps. They've got to not let the top 2 get away. They're already stretching out to over a second lead. It's 7/10 between the top 2 as Lockie Barlow, unfortunately, has gone for a spin. Just rejoins in P last, or second to last, I should say. And Miles Bond already a 1 second lead on the opening lap, ahead of Carroll Knockolds, and then Kai Ardley P4 further back wide there for Purnell, throwing everything at it. And in the older of the 2 Corvettes in this series, so running obviously the Hayden Carroll running the modified, or the new version of the Corvette, Purnell choosing to run in the old one. And really the front end of this older Corvette has not looked that good. It's been wobbling and walking all over the racetrack and not turning in, not pointing where he wants it to go. Just watch the attitude of the car. He's having to really get out of the throttle mid-corner and just get that thing to steer, probably even tap on the brake and use a bit of brake assistance to get it through the corner. But Bond out in front, not having that problem at all. And it goes around the tree here, looking very, very much in control. So 1.7 seconds within a lap and a half. Did I just hear a car spin? No. It's all under control. Further back, Colin Smith, he made up a spot. Now he's under pressure here from Medson, who's on his tail. Look how slow they are through that rotation phase of the boob section of this track. It's the cars just not wanting to turn. They're big, heavy GT1 cars, and that's where they're just getting accustomed. This, as Rand said, probably some of the other circuits we'll go to will be more suited to these cars in a more flowing state. But around here tonight, one guy's got it in control, 1:15.8, so he's already turned it into some quick lap times, and he's not even hanging around, Rand. He said, right, that's it, lap 3, I'm out of here. See you boys at drinks later on.
He's gone, as he's bugged out.
1.8 seconds in 2 laps. Miles Bond out in front.
Oh, Bondi. Who's in? Carroll's in second. Knockholds. Yeah, like good on Bondi. I know he does a lot of sim racing, and clearly, we know he can drive a real car as well. And he's showing the boys how it's done, isn't he?
Well, I think the sandbags are sitting on the start-finish line, and they're all out for the third race tonight. He's checked out. He sort of ramped it up. Race 1 and 2, it was 1:16.5, then a 1:16.3, then it was a 1:15 about 3 or 4 laps. Well, second lap, man, he's just punched out a 1:15, so boom.
And as you probably can see, he's on Pete Ellenbogen, or I think, what's he called? Pete Helsenbogen or something, isn't it? His team name?
It is actually, yes.
Yeah, so Pete was the one that sort of asked him to come back in, and I've got my guy, H, is in Machine Cult Esports in a matching livery to mine, so it's like Pete and I are racing through other people.
It's Pete hell of a bogan.
Hell of a bogan.
Hell of a bogan.
Pete was actually at Winton on the weekend. I didn't see him because we were both so busy, but he was there watching what was happening and got to meet Tony in person, so that was super cool as well.
Because he runs that tribute livery obviously on the car. It's good to see it out there.
Oh mate, no one else is allowed to run it. I just want to say that if anyone else tries to come into Sports Sedans in the E-Series and run that, you will have Pete knocking on your door. And I mean it. So yeah, no, he's a massive fan of Tony, and I think obviously sees Tony. Pete is a little bit of a man of history of motorsport. So I suppose Tony Ricciardello is is held quite highly in Sports Sedan's history.
For sure, yeah. As we watch young Kai Ardley here attacking the back of Jordan Knockholes for the final position on the podium. The other two are checked out already 3.3 seconds up the road, Bond, Carroll and Knockholes. But there's a nice little battle forming here. Chris Pennell, I was saying before you joined me in the booth here, that Pennell has really not looked like he's having a great time at the front end of this car. But it's now starting to work for him. Lap 4, maybe it takes a while for the tyres to come on song in the older of the two Corvettes.
Yeah, definitely. The GT1 cars, the guys were talking about the tyres being a bit of an issue, and they were a bit concerned about them at Winton. So yeah, Chris has obviously got good turn of speed, and some of the practice is right up front. So I think this is probably going to be his worst track for that car, because he's quite quick at like Oran Park, and I think the longer circuits you'll probably find the Astons and he's going. Oh, he's looking, wasn't he, there over Kai? Yeah. Had a bit of a look on the inside.
And that decision to have both the Corvettes, the GTE and the GT1 car in there, how did that come about?
Well, I love the GT1 cars. I think that Corvette could just be picked up and put into sports sedans for the most part. And I suppose, look, the GTE cars, like I said, they don't have ABS, and that's something that sucks for me in the game. But it's more real life for sports sedans, like because we don't have that. We do have the ability to have traction control if we want, and a lot of the front guys do run traction control to varying degrees. Obviously you're trying to get down 700, 800 horsepower in cars that weigh about 1,100 kilos. So it can be quite challenging, and I think Jordan even uses a little bit of traction control now. He wasn't originally in real life.
And is that something that, not having ABS, what would the thought process be behind that? Is it to just keep it raw and real? Or is it a cost factor, or what is it?
A little. Look, I would say cost factor is one of the things, but let's be honest, a lot of the top cars are these days to build. I won't mention what cars, but some of the new cars that have been built are, around $500,000.
Yeah, right.
I think you definitely, to build a proper national level sports sedan, far out. Could you do it for $250,000? I don't think you could now.
Yeah, right.
Some of the front guys have got motors well over $100,000 motors. You've got $60,000 transaxles. You've got suspension, my God, that can be insanely expensive. So, the list goes on. Then if you're running full Motec with all the gizmos, the proper dash and everything, suddenly, we're getting right up there. And then we've got to talk about all the fabrication. So, ABS, I should look into it and find out exactly why we can't use it. I think it's just one of those things that, at one point they were like, look, we don't want to add that to a space frame car because to do it properly, a full Bosch system, would be super expensive. And I think also back in the day, everything was carbureted and everything. Yeah. So I suppose there is a little bit of that old style still there.
Yeah, for sure. And they still breathe fire, I hope.
They definitely breathe fire, and actually the unleaded fuel runs the car's a lot hotter, which was a little bit of an issue for a while. So, but yeah, they definitely still shoot flames.
Have they changed the fuel type then to be more environmentally efficient?
Yes, so we can't run avgas anymore. Basically, that's the big thing, which was very sad, and I still lament that we can't run it. So most people are running like an ELF 102 race fuel. $4.95 a litre is where it starts, and it goes right up to $11 a litre for special fancy fuel. So, and just to give an idea, a lot of the guys are using 1 litre per kilometre.
Yeah, it's crazy. A bit of contact in the background there with Kai Ardley and Pennell, who's actually checked up to let him get back on the track, so he's redressing that position. That'll cost him about 3 or 4 spots.
Oh, Kai, what are you doing, mate? I don't know what happened there,
But just quickly back on the fuel, that was always my favourite. Well, one of my favourite things. You go to Oran Park, you'd watch Formula Fords go around, you'd watch the Minis go around, you'd watch the Kingswoods go around, or the HQs, I should say, and then there'd just be this smell, and it's like, what's this smell? Oh, and then the sports sedans would come out, and you could just smell the avgas and run across the whole circuit.
Yeah, look, and unfortunately we've lost that smell, but I can tell you now for the Speed Week series, obviously there were some other V8 categories running. We had S5000, Touring Car Masters and TA2, but when the sports sedans come out, it's just a different feel. Like, I definitely am biased, there's no doubt about it. But because it's not all one type of V8 engine, you know what I mean? There's a lot of different sounds. Like the Aston is very different sounding now, the way they've got their motor set up and built and everything. And even though I'm 99% sure it's some version of a Chev in it, an SB2, but it's got a very different note to it compared to, say, Tony's car and the Audi, to Marcy, and then obviously you've got some turbo stuff as well. And yeah, it's the gods of thunder. It still rings true for sports sedans.
Yep, and Peter Ellenbogen there's currently P9. Eddie Metz joining us in the chat saying Pete Ellenbogen for podium. Nice to see you, Eddie. Hope you're well. As Colin Smith now goes off the racetrack at the second to last corner, and he's going to drop about 3 or 4 spots, or even more, in fact, all the way back to 12. That little mistake, quite costly in a 12-lap race, only 3 laps to go.
Yeah, especially around a little tight track, isn't it? You definitely, suddenly, you come off and you're like, where did everybody go? But is H slowly catching?
He is actually. Just looking at the lap comparison there, laps 6, 7, and 8, he's taken a 10th and a half, and then just on a 10th, and then the last lap, lap 8, he took half a second out of Bond. So he did this in race 1 and 2. He seems to be able to come back at the end. Whether or not Bond is abusing the tyres for the first few laps and then has to check up for a bit, but Hayden's definitely consistently quicker towards the end of each race.
Yeah, interesting, mate. Look, maybe Bondi's just sort of conservating, giving him a false sense of hope, and then boosting away. We'll see what happens.
There's a great scrap on at the back, hey, Rand. I'm just watching Tony Don's at the back of this one. So Ellenbogen, Pryor, Kurt Bond, and then Tony Don. As Tony Don sticks it down the inside and he hits the door of Kurt Bond, turns him round, and a bit scrappy that one. He'll probably have to park that on the side of the track and redress.
No.
He doesn't.
Kurt's been taken out by both of them now, isn't he? The Lockie and the Tony Don show.
Yeah.
Kurt will be throwing stones at their houses, I think, tonight. Watch out.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Kurt because he tries to race so clean.
Well, here's a replay, bottom right of your screen. Tony Don, we're on board with him. Watch this. He just sends it down the inside, releases the brake, and takes a bit of paint off the door of the Porsche. And unfortunately, well, I'm not sure there's any stewards or penalties in this system, but he'd be wearing them.
I think it's fair to say that It looks like Tony should not do that. Would you agree? What would you, if we were the stewards for this, would be like, no beer for you tonight, Tony? Yeah. Look, at the stewarding and giving penalties makes people upset.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be just, we know, I think hopefully Tony knows what's happened and Kurt doesn't find his house. I think they're in different states, so it's okay.
That's it. You say sorry after the race and you move on. That's what it's about. I mean, you have some bad luck, you have some good luck. It's sim racing at the end of the day. People don't generally go out and take you out, but it's so easy to make a mistake like that. You go in a bit hot and all of a sudden you're in the door and it's like, oh man, I probably wouldn't have done that in a real car, but in the sim it's easy to make that little trip up.
To be fair, some people probably would do it in a real car. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Look, it's a different thing on the sim. Totally, it's hard to judge. You can't hear the other car the same way. You can't feel it. Like in a real race car, you can definitely feel your competitors around you. There is a different kind of sensation that you don't get in the sim. So it depends also what monitor setup people are running and how they're running their speakers and stuff. So, but yeah, look, I was hoping there'd be a bit more battling up front, but I suppose, you know what, this is what happens in sports sedans.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's great that H has been super close to him. He hasn't sort of let him just have it. He's been there waiting for a mistake, and Miles is just not making any.
Yeah, he's still shadowing him. He lost a bit on lap 9, lap 10 he came back within half a tenth. So he's just there, and puts us in good position for the next race and so on. They might go away and work on this a bit. Hayden might say, right, I need to do a little bit more practice here just to get that edge over Miles. But you take these two out of the race, then from third back it's been really close as well, especially in the mid pack. I'm loving this, from Dexter back to about Ellenbogen, Don, Smith. All these guys are very similar paced.
And you know what? It's 100% what it's like in the real racing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like in recent years, back in the day, it was Tony and Hossack would be bugging out, and then there was big battles everywhere through it. It's still the same. The battles mid-pack, and if you take, usually first and second out of it, and look what happened in race 2 at Winton. First, the top two guys were out, and the battles was insane. It was awesome, the guys battling, because suddenly they're all much closer.
Yeah, as we see the white flag fly here. Final lap of the race. Ryan Humphrey says, go hard, guys. Sorry I can't make it. Nice little comment coming through from him. And, this is going to be 3 from 3 for Miles. Although the gap's just dropped to under a second for a moment there. Maybe he's just doing this for television, but he's backed off slightly.
I did notice in one of the other races that Carroll got with about a second away. But, yeah, look, I think, it's too little too late. Maybe if these were 20-lap races, it might be a different thing. Maybe not. Maybe Miles is, looking at how many laps he's got and using the car that way. He's quite technically minded. I know from talking to him in the past that, he and Tony got along really well. They'd talk a lot about tech, and he's, involved with Simon Fitzner from PPG. And, yeah, I think good on him, man. He's a good victory, 3 from 3. It's pretty dominant. He's laying down the law and saying, boys, if you want this, you better come and get it.
Yeah, great drive. So Carroll gets second, Knockholes third, and Medson will cross the line to finish P4 ahead of Dexter. Kai Ardley screeches his way back to 6th as he line lockers that all the way down the straight there. Pennell finishes 7th ahead of Pryor. Ellenbogen inside the top 10, not a podium, but 9th. Good job. Tony Don in the top 10 there as well. Colin Smith just outside the 10. Lockie Barlow, Kurt Bond, Michael Falzon did get into the final race tonight after the first couple of did not start.
Yeah, he had a couple of problems, didn't he?
Yeah, and then Adrian Pryor on debut for the series, 15th, and Rand, who we're speaking to, bugged out and came and joined me in the commentary box, which I love, but it didn't see much racing.
Yeah, look, I think that'll be the way I do this season, is do a bit of driving, have a bit of fun, and then do a bit of chatting so you don't get lonely.
Yeah.
I know you miss me.
I do,
so, look, just a bit of fun. I'm glad to see the boys up front battling and trying hard. That's really cool. So, I think I don't have to work out who wins the voucher. Who won all the bloody races.
That's it. And, if any of the drivers watching this back, bring your friends and family next time, because it gets you more airtime if they make some noise for you. So even if you're not in a battle, I'll do as much airtime as I can. As we see the top 3 come down, and I think Miles Bond there just trying to find that traction control off button. He's found it now, and he goes for a bit of a spin. I think Hayden Carroll just stuck it straight in the fence trying to do his burnout. Here we go, up against the fence, NASCAR style.
Love it.
Love it. NASCAR style up against the fence there.
Should we drag them in and you can have a chat? You can have a chat to them. You chat to them. You
Yeah,
say, "Go on, buddies."
we can both chat to them, but yeah, we'll drag them in for a chat as we bring the results up too from the feature race tonight. And there it is, Miles Bond celebrating, and it's a win by just on the second, 9.998 for Bond over Carroll, and Jordan Knockoff's 4.1 seconds back. Welcome to the chat, boys. Miles, good to see you back, and 3 from 3. Good way to kick off this brand new 2023 Australian Sports Sedan E-Series.
Yeah, thanks, man. Good to be back, and thanks to Ran for continuing this whole crazy saga that he has done so for many years and supporting Sports Sedan the way he does. Obviously, yeah, it's sort of got grown out of something in those crazy times a few years ago, but massive effort for him to keep it going this long, and good to be back and good to hear your voice. I'm surprised you're still doing it. Your brain obviously hasn't exploded yet, or it has.
It has.
Maybe it has.
It has a long time ago. It's actually the only series I'm commentating on this year. So everything else is just production now. So Rand's dragged me out for one more time.
Special man.
But yeah, man, I think we started at third or fourth Race Stars TV broadcast. It's now 686, I think, tonight. So
oh my gosh,
stupid, ridiculous. But it's not about me. It's about you guys. Yeah, and Miles, mate, you had Carroll hanging behind you. We see Hayden in your mirrors the whole race there. Race 1 and 2, he seemed to come back at you for those last few laps, all in control, or were you managing tyres or something towards the end of the races?
Not tyres so much, more just my own risk. You know, I think I really wanted to take heaps of traction control off this thing. It's got way too much, but I don't know whether that was making it a bit weird for me, and I had to run the bias really far to the rear to sort of make it turn the way I wanted to turn, and so it was just a bit sketchy in a few spots on the track. And I'm not SVG, I can't change as I'm going around, that's ridiculous. But yeah, so I would just sort of knock a couple of tenths out of it just to make sure that I wasn't, putting myself at risk. But I was still pushing. Like, I definitely wasn't cruising at all. I'd see him sort of come a couple of tenths and then I'd get it back, and we're sort of toing and froing. But I obviously had a bit more pace on cold tyres. That's where I got it done.
Yeah,
each time.
Ripper drive, mate. 3 from 3. And Hayden, great to see you right up there as well, mate. Just, there was 3 or 4 laps there where you were pinning Miles back by, a tenth each lap. But at the end of the day, about a second in each race at the finish line. Is this something you'll go away from and do a bit more practice, or is it just, man, I'm out there having fun, who cares?
Pretty much just having fun, who cares? It was just a bit of understeer when you get in between the second. So when you finally get that bit of a gap, you can actually put a fast lap out.
Yeah, it'll look good out there, man, and the car looks beautiful as always. Nicely turned out paint job on the car, so well done. And that's a heap of P2s for you. And Jordan, you've had to sort of fight back, didn't you? Because race 1 didn't go to plan, but you got yourself back in for a podium there.
Yeah, all races were pretty cool. The first one had that incident, had a little bit of damage on the car, but brought it home, and then consistently brought it home in third, which was nice.
I'll throw it over to Rand. If you want to talk to the top 3, Rand, got any things to say to them?
No, I just think you're rad, and you all drove really fast.
They are rad.
Nah, look, it's all good. I think, yeah, it's just great that I'm curious to see how the season goes on the different tracks, and how the boys go. I know Jordan takes it pretty seriously, so I'll be curious to see if he can come back on the guys. And I'm really curious to see also with Chris Purnell and Kai how they go on some of the other tracks as well. But yeah, huge congratulations to Miles. He's done a Tony Ricciardello dominance. Well, I suppose Jordan Caruso in recent years, but yeah, that's what it was kind of like watching is Jordan and Tony battling out there. It was H and Miles.
It's fantastic. We'll give the top 3 a chance to say thank yous or shout outs to friends, family, sponsors, all that sort of stuff. Starting with you, our race winner, Miles.
Yeah, so thanks again to Ran, obviously Precision International for sponsoring this event, but massively for sponsoring the National Sports Sedan Series. It's come along leaps and bounds in previous years, and it really looks like it's something that is getting some traction and gaining legs, and it's really exciting. And as a state, we've actually had a grid for the first time in 2 decades, and we're sort of heading towards 20 cars on the grid. So I think sports sedans as a whole, nationally, not just the National Series, but in every individual state, is actually really healthy at the moment, with loads of interest in it. And that's all driven from the top, and everything that everyone's doing around it on social media and the sponsors that are helping out and everything else. So obviously a massive thank you to everyone there, because yeah, it's a category that I like and obviously involved in. and want to keep being a part of and help grow on our end here in SA. So yeah, cheers everyone, and cheers to you, Luke, and everyone else that raced tonight and raced clean. I was kind of hoping for a massive battle, but I also wasn't just going to back off and let H in. He had to earn it. So hopefully next time they make different speed in different spots. I can already see that, even our cars. So I reckon when we go to a different track, it'll be totally different. So yeah, keen to see how that goes. But yeah, cheers.
Couple of months, mate. August, I'm sure the other boys are going to put in some work and they'll be on your tail. So great win tonight, 3 from 3, and well done, Miles Bond. P2, Hayden Carroll, who would you like to thank, mate?
I would like to thank Precision International for sponsoring the round and also the series. Rand for sponsoring me and the car. And then obviously Luke for you for keep doing these broadcasts. They're always amazing. The people watching and everyone else that's driving in the series.
Great drive tonight, mate. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what you can do in August for round number 2 as well. And then finally, Jordan on the podium, P3. Who would you like to thank, mate?
Yeah, big thanks to Rand for kicking it off again and getting us out here, and thanks to the series sponsors. It's huge to have backing, and obviously it's piqued the interest of the big guys. So that's really cool to see after being here from basically the start. Big thanks to Rob, who was actually in the series as well, throwing the paint together for me. That was
great.
Yeah. I couldn't have done it myself. and yeah, the HPF Esports guys and my partner for dealing with me getting everything set up again, ready to go. And to you, Luke, for coming out of retirement for us. Cheers.
All good. No, fantastic. I mean, it's just such a what is it? It's just, not sentimental. I'm trying to think of the word, Ran. Nostalgic thing maybe, to have you guys back after so long. So fantastic.
Yeah, I think so, because we did have a bit of a break and stuff. So yeah, it feels like it's got the old vibes, the early vibes.
It does.
So it's good. It's good. It's
and I still promise I will get my YouTube channel. I'm still fighting YouTube over this whole thing. So
it's crazy.
All those,
and I reckon definitely, Miles sparked up my interest on something which I'd forgotten about. Definitely, I think next round we need to get him in to have a bit of a chat about what's happening in South Australia, and maybe another round we can get someone from a different state. It shouldn't all just be about, like, obviously this is supporting the Nationals, but like he said, the way that we made the Nationals become good is because the states become stronger, and then the top guys move up to the Nationals, and that's what needs to be happening in sports sedans. You can't just have the guys up the top. We need to feed it up there and people to slowly move up, the ranks. And South Australia, I know, are putting a lot of effort in, and I know they've invited the 2 liter guys to come over and do stuff with them. So I think, yeah, it'd be good to sort of shine the light on that for people that might be interested in getting involved.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Yeah. So I'll hold you to that. August is our next round, and a couple of months away. I'm sure everyone's going to put their thinking caps on and do a bit of practice as well. Obviously fixed setup, so nothing to do in the setup side of things, but just getting used to these cars again, and probably a more open flowing circuit for the next race too.
Yeah, where are we going? I've already forgotten where we're going next.
I'll quickly put up the splash screen. Oran Park.
Oh, Oran Park's sick.
I like Oran Park.
Oran Park, well, look, yeah, I think it was H didn't want Oran Park, did you, H?
No, it's shit.
No, hey, you need to go away, H. It's a sports sedan, mate. The old races there were unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's such a cool track, and I think that's going to be a very different vibe there. I think, yeah, it's definitely it's more flowing than Winton. I reckon Winton's tough.
As long as you can get through the kink without 6 cars in the fence, it'll be all right.
It'll happen.
No, it's turn 2 that we all run into each other, isn't it?
Oh, well, some great memories, and yeah, looking forward to a couple of months from now. So August the 10th, next round of the Australian Sports Sedan Eseries. Big thanks to Ram, thanks to the top 3 for dropping in, Miles, Hayden and Jordan, but all the other competitors as well that were out there tonight racing. Looking forward to the next one. Ran, thanks, mate, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, Luke. Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. All right, good night, and thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. Make sure you, if you're watching this back on a replay, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our new YouTube channel, RSTVAU, and share it with your friends as well. Bring the family and friends along to the next round, because it will be Oran Park on Thursday. It is actually the 10th of August, so a Thursday night for the next one, and that will be mega. So looking forward to that. Until then, I'm Luke, this is Race Stars TV, and catch you later. Good night.